Hello, everyone. How are you all? Very warm good evening to everybody. Very good evening. Let me greet whosoever is there on this particular webinar. And let me welcome all of you. And I heartily ensure you that whatever we are going to learn today, it will stay with the knowledge bank of yours, and I will try to uplift it, and I will try to make you guys learn something new, or probably make you understand the concepts which you already know, or we'll try to make it a dual webinar where you also I'll appreciate that if you also can share your experiences, your learning, and contribute to it. Okay, so, with this note, I would like to take an opportunity to start this webinar. And this particular webinar is dedicated to one aspect wherein we will be talking about how to write the discussion and conclusion. All those who are following us with the previous series of webinars, they must be knowing the fact that we started with the webinar on how to write a title, decide a topic, and then we moved on to literature, background, and then the last webinar of ours was on data interpretation, analysis, and writing the findings. Now this particular webinar will take you to the final aspect of your study, that is the discussion and the conclusion, because we all know that the discussion and the conclusion part is the final one of any study, and wherein you just wrap your study, and then you move on to a very important aspect of for any research scholar, that is journal submission. Because I personally know this thing that many of us, we face a lot of rejections from the journals, and a lot of review comments we come to know from the journals. So this particular webinar will tell you how to wrap up your study, that is by helping you to let you aware about the discussion and the conclusion. Also, this will we'll try to learn that what to do, what not to do, how to handle the review comments, how to give the feedback, or how to answer the feedback given by the reviewer of the journals, and so on. So with this note, I would like to take an opportunity to start this webinar, and the title is Journal Submission, Conclusion, and Discussion. All right, so before we jump on to the actual topic of this webinar, I would like to take an opportunity to introduce you about the organization Research Graduate. So we all know that many of us generally we stuck with a step wherein we do not know that how to go about a topic selection, how to go for the statistical analysis. We do not know how to structure a paper, editing, proofreading, and so on. So there. Uh, Research graduate can come in and can help you out. Okay, it will take you to the journey of your topic selection, your proposal writing, in case you are stuck with writing with a review paper or a research paper, or so on. So research graduate is one stop solution for all your research queries, for all your research concerns. So, the name on which you can trust upon. All right. So, in any case, you would like to contact Research Graduate, the following are the details. You can reach out Research Graduate through the email ID, the given email ID, the WhatsApp number, and the website as well. So, you can check it out the services, and the experts with Research Graduate would help you to take you out from any tough situation, from any stuck situation where you are not able to understand what to do, what not to do. So you can back up on Research Graduate, and you can trust on the abilities of the expert associated with it. All right, so coming back to the webinar structure of today, so we'll be covering up the presentation in around 90 minutes and so, and then we'll be coming back to you for the question and answer sessions as long as the PPT recording and certificate is concerned. So you will be receiving everything from on the email ID from which you have registered. One small request I would like to make before we go on to the further slides, that just in case you're not able to make out the content of the web slides given, or it's not clear to you, so don't panic, okay? Just don't worry about it, because in this webinar it's more important that you hear out to me, you listen to me, okay? Because these PPTs, these slides will eventually reach out to you, the recordings will reach out to you, right? So it's more important to pay attention to what I'm saying right now. So just don't worry, just in case any font size is not clearly visible to you, any picture is not clearly visible, so just don't worry about it, all right? So okay, now let's get started with the webinar today. And I actually always get fascinated with the certain quotes given by the authors or the researchers in the previous eras. So this is one which I really personally like, that to get to know, to discover, to publish, this is the destiny of a scientist. Why I like it? Because I personally feel that to get to know, to discover, to publish, this is the destiny of a researcher, right? Because we start with a topic which we want to know, then we collect the data about it, we discover the data about it. Then the ultimate aim of any researcher is to get our work published. It's very important for all of us that we somehow get the chance to get a paper published. And all those who are from India right now, UGC care list or Scopus index for all of others also, for Indian scholars, UGC care listed journals, they this is actually sometimes becomes a nightmare, that we have not published a long time, it's been long time and so on, we have not published a paper and so on. So it's with every researcher. For others who are residing outside India, for them it is like Scopus Index, ADC, ABCD journals, and then Weber Science, Emerald, and so on are their respective domain to which they belongs to. So yes, I agree, and I can feel that situation of curiosity when we are in a situation of writing a paper or writing a study. Then our ultimate aim is to get it published at the right place. So with this webinar also, we'll be covering at the right how to prepare your study or published ready study, okay? Because anything you're just writing, and then if you think that it is published ready, it's not like that, okay? Before that, what we'll be talking about the discussion and the conclusion aspect of any study. Because see, literature is done, literature is something which you review, which is the work done by somebody else, okay? You have not written that study which you are reviewing, it's just yet you are reviewing it. Then comes your own data collection, which you do it for your study purpose, okay? So data collection is basically in the form of raw information which you obtain, which is a for primary data I'm talking about. Now the crucial aspect of any research study comes when you have to communicate those results to the audience. How will you make sure that whatever your study is talking about, whatever your data is talking about, what exactly does it mean? All right. For that, you have to make sure that you write the right kind of discussion and you conclude your study well. Now, why conclusion of for a study is important? Because it's very important to highlight what your study contributes, and that will be highlighted by the right kind of conclusion, okay? Now, before I move ahead, let's first understand what is a research track. Now, whenever you talk about a research paper, any kind of research study you are talking about, it first begins with an introduction, then method, results, and discussion. Agreed? Now, please don't say that there's literature review also, background also. That all I have majorly talked in introduction. Okay. Then comes your research methodology and your results and discussion. So, primarily, here in today's webinar, in today's session, we are going to talk about this discussion. That means how your results needs to get a meaning which can be understood by others. Okay, so giving your results a meaning is called as discussion. Okay, so how you are portraying your results. So you got a regression table, you got an ANOVA table, right? Now, how people like me who are going through your study would understand that table? If I'm not able to make out these number given in that table, how will I make out the meaning of it? That you will explain in discussion. Okay, now, when we are talking about discussion, there are a couple of issues to address. There are a couple of things which you need to take care of, which you need to be aware of. Okay, now, first is, how did your actual results compare with what you expected? Now, what you have in what you had in mind, or what you have reviewed in your literature, what you have come across in your previous studies, how your analysis, how your results, how the results of your study, you know come are different with other researchers, as well as with what you have expected. So the difference between your results and the difference between which has already been done, that you need to talk about. And for that, you also need to give the citations. Like, if you're talking about that my study or my findings are different from the previous author, so which all previous authors you're talking about, you need to mention about them. Okay, so that you need to talk about in discussion. Then, how might you explain any unexpected results? So any expected variable you come across with, any unexpected relationship you come across with, any new factor you have identified, any new influence you have come across with, you need to talk about that. You need to explain that. Okay, and then also, whatever your results are, whatever your findings, your questions are, what would be the next course of action? What you would like to ask next? Like, till now your study has addressed this, what's next? Okay, so all these which you can see on your screen, how different your results are, how unexpected your results are, how well you will explain that differences, how will you test your explanations, everything will come in your discussion. All right, okay, now let's come and talk about what is a discussion section. Let's understand about it. Firstly, it's one of the most important section, because many a times what happen is, when you are submitting your paper in any journal, or your paper is being cited by any other researcher, so majority of the time, we directly jump onto your discussion section, that what exactly are the findings of this study, or what exactly have come out of this study, so that we can get it out from the discussion. So it's one of the very important section. Second thing, as I said, that it gives the crucial information about the study, that what have been come out of the study, how it is different from other study, and what are the potential findings of this study. As in, findings and discussion also can be one section. Like, you can have discussion as one, or many papers you will find findings and discussion. Okay, so it's one and the same. So how you are actually interpreting your results, as I showed you in research track, all these things, your the research questions which you have for your study, the answers to them, your appropriateness of your study, the critical evaluation of your research, everything comes in your discussion section. So anybody who is working right now on any kind of research study can consider these aspects to be considered in their discussion section. Okay, so you can consider it as a checklist. Okay, this check, done, 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 done. Okay, so this way you can actually give a structure to your discussion section. All right, okay, now you understood what is discussion section. Now let's talk about what we can include, or what is to be included in the discussion section. Then, firstly, what did you do, what did you find, and what did this mean? Like, for example, you find that that 60% of the respondents are in favor of particular brand or something. So what actually did you find? You find this, that 60% of the respondents are in favor. What did you do? You were trying to find an association with psychology and a brand awareness, something like that. What does it means? So all these things you need to state, and in common, why is this important? So this is to be included in your discussion. Okay, what did you do, what did you find, what does it mean? Okay, and then consolidate it to make it why this is important. All right, then strength and weaknesses, recommendation for future research, and recommendation for clinical practice. Now one thing I would like to add on here is that many researchers, like you may come across, so I'm it's my duty to tell you in advance that in many research, recommendation for future research becomes an extra subheading, limitations becomes an extra subheading, and in many research you may find that this all is included in discussion section. Okay, so you may come across both the kind of studies. When you come to a research study, like that is your PhD study, right? In that, your limitation takes a separate chapter, your recommendation takes a separate subchapter. Okay, so depending upon the length of that study, depending upon the length of that paper, you may include this all into a discussion section, that's what I said, or you may have it as a separate section. Okay, so again, that depends upon what kind of length your paper is. Okay, now we did this, now let's take one by one. What did you do or what did you find? Okay, so you need to explain it in a very simple language. You need to be direct. You do not adapt any tough language in this. Do not go for any difficult language in this. Okay, firstly. Second thing, when you're writing a paper, okay, or depending upon the length of the study, again you may write it for a paragraph, this particular aspect, that what did you find or what did you do, this particular aspect you can include it into a paragraph or a couple of sentences, depending upon the, again I'm repeating, the length of the study. Here you have to highlight what are the major findings of your study. Okay, what is the major result of your study? Now result, not in terms of that statistical analysis, result in the interpretation aspect, result that which can be easily understood by other or the audience. Okay, now next is what does it mean, like in that, when you're writing what does it mean in your discussion section, you have to focus on that, how your findings are important, what exactly your research has contributed. Okay, what new contribution in terms of new ideas, new perspectives have been highlighted by your research. Okay, so what does it mean means how and what kind of contribution your study and its findings has done into existing literature, into existing domain or the field. If your studies finding has come out with something new and it is giving a new way or new perspective to approach this particular topic, so you may highlight that, you may say it that this means this. Okay, that for example, if 60% of the respondents are aware about this particular plant, that means the brand awareness is related to the education or their perspective to choose to the shopping brand and so on. So you need to interpret it, what exactly does it mean. Okay, now here is an example. For instance, the topic which I have taken is analysis of employees perception of workplace support and level of motivation in public sector healthcare organization. Okay, just understand that this particular study, that example which I have taken, is on the analysis of employee perception about their support at workplace, and what is the level of their motivation in the healthcare organization which belongs to public sector. This is an example. So the discussion on this particular topic of this paper This is paper, right? Is this paper proposed and tested a model describing the factors perceived to be organizational support and employee work motivation, the employee influence. So the first three lines basically talks about what did you do. Okay, what exactly did you do? Now, the next couple of lines, it means since motivation is indispensable for organization to be effective, manager is supposed to keep employee motivation level high. What exactly this model means, if your paper needs to be used by organization, by managers, so what exactly your paper's finding means? It means that managers are required to keep the motivation level of the employees high. Okay, then last line says that the perception of organization support is the variable that explain employee work motivation significant. So this is the finding, or this is the new perspective of your paper, that how the perception of the employee towards the organization support is, it defines your employee motivation. Okay, so this is the way. So first couple of lines, it says that Mr. Nidoop, we'll be talking about journals in once we are done with discussion and conclusion section. Okay, however, about predatory and fake journals, I'll be talking about it. Oh, whenever you are going to submit any journal, any paper to a journal, please make sure that you visit the website of that journal. Okay, I'll be talking about it. So when you are structuring the conclusion part of your study, make sure that firstly couple of lines talks about what you do, what does it mean exactly, and the last two lines reflects about the new perspective of the study. Okay, all right. Now, these are the some examples of the the paper which I have taken. The complete paper is this. All right, now here I have listed down couple of strategies for discussion. Okay, like when you are writing your discussion, how you should move ahead. Okay, firstly, you do not delay writing your discussion once your results are done. Why, I'll tell you. Mr. Daniel, I'll be telling you, how you can go ahead in a good Scopus journal publication. Let because this webinar is basically covering two important topic: discussion and your publication. So we are on discussion aspect, then we'll be moving on to the publication aspect as well. So don't worry. All right. Okay. So when you are done with your results, when you are done with your analysis, do not take too long for writing your discussion. Why? I'll tell you the reason. Because the moment you are done with your results, the concepts of it, the analysis part is quite fresh. Okay, quite fresh, and you make sure when you are writing down your analysis, when you are doing your analysis, the important notes, you just make a note of it. So any one of you, if you are doing analysis from SPSS or any other software, so just don't rely completely on the software. I'm not saying for the analysis part, but when you are discussing, when you are when you'll be on the discussion aspect of your study, the software will do only the statistical part. The analysis interpretation part would be done by you, the discussion part would be done by you. So anything which can be an important aspect for writing your discussion, make a note of it in advance, and uh, just do not give a very long time gap between your analysis and your discussion, because you may somehow forget the concept. And this is with every human being, that if the concept is fresh in your mind, if you have recently done it, so for you it is it becomes easy to what do you say that, to conceptualize it on a paper, to conceptualize it on a it in a paper form or in a study form. It becomes easy for you, the concept is fresh. Okay, that's why I say that always start early, as long as you're done with the research analysis, result analysis. Okay, second thing, you should also know that what kind of audience you're writing for. what exactly is the take home message from your research, that if I'm going through a particular research, I should feel that this is something I have learned new. Okay, so always highlight what you want your researcher to know from your paper. Always mention, always keep pay attention that what you want your researcher to understand from your study. Okay, just do not write anything, justify your ideas. Why? Because in research, always remember that whatever you are writing, whatever you are mentioning, whatever you are stating, it's just not any assumption. Okay, you have to back it by your literature or by your data analysis or by your findings. So whatever ideas you are coming across with, justify it. Each point you need to focus on. Okay, you need to focus on, and whatever background of the study you have, the structured for your own study, treat it as the backbone for your discussion also, because the background, the literature, then your data analysis, and then your discussion comes into picture. So everything is related to each other. Okay, so these are a couple of strategies which you can focus upon. Now comes, once you are done with, you understand that once you are done with understanding discussion, what to include, what not to include, how to interpret results and all. Now comes the part is to how to actually give a proper structure to it, how to organize it. Okay, now, firstly, review the main results. So, whatever your results are, review them and connect it to your hypothesis. Whatever hypothesis you have stated for your study, because that needs to be explained, that whether the hypotheses are accepted or they are rejected. Okay, so that has to be connected. Your results needs to be connected with your hypothesis. And then what is the process behind your hypothesis, how your hypothesis is rejected or accepted, what are the possible explanation, how you're comparing with other research, all these points. Now, so what I wanted to tell you is, firstly, when you're reviewing the main results, connect it with your hypothesis. When next point comes, explain the process behind hypothesis. In that, you will talk about the unexpected results, whatever results have come. You will give the explanation for the same, and then you will compare with the other researches. So in this subheading, this is subheading, this is what has come. In this subheading, this is what will come, and then both of these together come out to be a discussion for your study. Okay, now this is also, again, I've taken an example, and then you can go to this particular paper or any particular paper which you feel like for your example. Okay, now comes what not to be done or things to be avoided in discussion section. Now, do not repeat your findings without interpretation. So please do not just talk, don't just talk about findings again and again without explaining them, without interpreting them. So there is one question: can we contrast to earlier findings in the discussion section based on our research? Yes, absolutely. That's what I said, Mr. Nidoop, that how unexpected your results are, what is the new perspective in your study, and that is how your study is different from the previous finding. Absolutely, you can do that, and with proper justification. And that is actually your contribution, that how your study is different from the previous researches, how your results are different from the results which are being given by the previous researchers. Okay, then coming back to things which we are supposed to avoid in the discussion section. First, I told you, do not repeat your findings without interpretation. Do not just talking. I have seen many paper out of which in that author is continuously talking about similar things, similar findings again and again, but there is no interpretation. Like 60% of the respondents said this, 20% said this. Okay, fine, but what does it mean? All right, that needs to be explained. Then, presenting new data in your discussion, please do not do that. Please do not do that. Any new information which is nowhere discussed in the study earlier, please avoid stating a new piece of information in your discussion. Don't do that. Okay, otherwise you will you will land your reviewer, you will land your reader in a state of confusion, which is strictly to be avoided. Don't do that, okay? Overinflation of importance of finding means do not just stretch the importance of finding, that how the findings of the studies are important. Don't just stretch it. Don't just over exaggerate it, okay? Because many a times you must have said that, speaking aloud about what you have done. Don't do that. Please don't do that, okay? Overextending arguments, interpreting beyond what can be justifiable, inferred from the Mr. Roshan, I'm sure what I've said, that what I'm saying right now, you can focus on that. I think now the slides would be visible to you. Okay. So, overextending arguments, interpreting beyond what can be justifiably inferred from the data means do not just extend your argument, just do not keep talking similar things. So, in a nutshell, what you need to do or what you need to avoid in your uh, discussion section is that just do not keep stressing on a similar thing. Now if I keep on talking about this thing again and again, do not stress on your findings, do not exaggerate about your finding, do not exaggerate about your importance of the finding. That means I'm repeating the things. Similar things need not to be done in your discussion, okay? Please increase the video quality of your YouTube, and I'm sure don't worry if the ppts are blurred now. Don't worry, the this thing, your slides and recording will be reached to you. Just listen to me right now, okay? HJRL is good journal to publish article for PhD purpose. I mean, you need to tell Ms. Piniti that which particular domain you're talking about, which particular subject you're talking about, okay? All right. Now, just last thing, what I want to say, that what you need to avoid in discussion is long inferences. Just do not stretch things. And same things, I would suggest for all the PhD scholars as well, that many a times, in order to increase the length of your thesis, we keep on repeating same things. In that situation, the question comes that how will we how will we increase the length of the discussion section, because we need to write a thesis. In that, kindly use new language in your discussion. I mean, rephrasing. Do a lot of rephrasing. That would help. Okay. Yes, there is a question from Mr. Rana. If the null hypothesis is accepted, can what about comparing a result with existing finder to about comparing our results with existing findings to support our finding. Yes, see, maybe the questions the language is quite complicated, Mr. Rana, but I've understood. If your null hypothesis is accepted, that means you are coming out with something which is unexpected, right? So as Mr. Nudub has already said, so that if your results are unexpected, so definitely you can say that how your results are different or in contrast with the results of already published studies, or how your findings are different from the previous researches, okay? In that case, your data will support your finding, your own research analysis will support your finding. Not necessarily that every time you need to back out your findings with your literature. No, no, not like that. Your analysis part, the data analysis which you have done, the statistical tool which you have employed, and the findings out of that, that will help you to support your finding, if in case your results are unexpected. Okay. All right. Now, whenever you are writing a discussion section, so your one thing should be, you should be very clear that your audience, academician, organization people, for policymakers, for corporates, there should be a message. Now when I say message, that means you're talking about implications. Okay. Is it possible to put other graphs in the discussion section to discuss one of the major results? See, when you talk about graphs, Ms. Amal, when you talk about pie charts, these all things are supposed to be covered in your analysis part. However, when you are writing findings and discussions together, definitely you can include it. Okay, so you may go ahead with that. Okay. Now, moving ahead. Now, how to begin the discussion? Now, I'm giving you an example. If you remember, I just showed you one example of the paper on the customer perception or on the banking services. So this is the discussion of that particular paper, which I have taken as the example. So how you will begin the discussion. So at the end of the discussion, at the end of the introduction of your study, remember you start your study with the introduction. So the end of the introduction was a study on banks' perception in the mind of customers and comparative analysis of services of private and public sector banks. Sound interesting? Such analysis will provide the banks with a qualitative and quantitative estimate. Okay, so this was where we ended our introduction part. Okay, we wrapped our introduction of the study. So here I'm what I'm talking about when we started writing the paper. So this particular section is when we started writing it. So this is the end of our introduction. Now this we will use for the start of the discussion with the help of our results which we have taken. That is 68%, okay, of the customers have been respective relationship for more than 2 years. So whatever your end of the introduction, that means your end of the introduction is mentioning that what exactly this study is expected to focus upon. Now, through the entire methodology part, through the entire result analysis part, you have done that. You have come across with those results. Now, that end of the introduction will become the start of your discussion. Okay. And with the help of your, now, how will you support your findings? With your data, with your analysis. Okay. Now, there is a question from Mr. Roshan. If the pilgrimage show plagiarism, it is plagiarism, Mr. Roshan, show more than 20%, but it show only about the law and section which was not changeable, so how to reduce this? Then it is about rephrasing. Okay, it is about rephrasing. Do not change the meaning of the content, it's about rephrasing. And if something which is a particular quote, which is a particular definition which we can't change, then see how much content you have copied in other section. Okay, how much content you have copied in the other section. Otherwise, in order to reduce the plagiarism, so please kindly do the citations, kindly do the referencing properly, and rephrase your content. Okay. Okay, now this is the exam. I have given you the same paper for which I have taken the example. Okay, now here is your past research. Your results, you can back it up with the past research. Your results, then you show the limitations, what exactly your limitations were, right? Now we are coming to the implications. Now implications means that, or try to put them as graph, as image, maybe Mr. Miss Amal. Yes, see, that depends upon the nature of your study, what kind of study you are doing, what kind of results you have come across with. That depends upon that whether you'll be using the graphs or you'll be using the images. Now if you are using some images, so the images are always which you have adopted from some other sources. Okay. See, Mr. Abel, I definitely agree. You me saying that I have to attend the questions at the end, but the point is actually the questions then they go back in the chat box. I'll try to take them in later. So I will request all the attendees that if you can keep a note of your questions on a paper, and then once we are done with the webinar, right, like Mr. Abel said, we can take the questions later on, right? Okay. Now coming back, we are done with the discussion, how we write the discussion, what to include in that, what not to include in that, how, what all things we can focus. Now it's time to talk about implications. Implications are very important aspect of our study, and generally they are being ignored by us or by many researchers because we put a lot of stress on methodology, data analysis, data interpretation, and so. However, why implication is important? Because implication, it is important to show that how your study is meaningful, is important for the organizations, for the society at large, for the academics, or for the contributing literature. So basically how your results, how your studies findings can be utilized in practice. Okay, so that is what exactly called as intro implication, right? So implications are, as I stated, how your findings are important and how your study, how your research actually targets the particular area or particular community. All right, this is implication. Now why it is implication? Because it's tell you how your study is significant. Your data collection is done, your data analysis is done, and discussion is also done. Now how your findings are actually going to contribute, it basically it reflects that how your study is significant. Okay, now there are two kind of implications. Firstly, practical implications. Now practical implication is basically these are those impact, direct impact on individual or related practice. Okay, for example, I'm telling you, if you are studying about a particular teaching pedagogy, teaching pedagogy is the way teacher teaches, the style of any teacher teaching the students, then practical implications would be how teacher can use that particular pedagogy based on your findings. So if your study is about understanding any particular teaching pedagogy like case study method or lecture method or classroom sessions, you are understanding any particular teaching method. So practical implications is how, in a well defined manner, or how better this particular teaching pedagogy based on your findings can be used by the teachers. Okay, so this is the practical implication, that how your findings of a particular research can be utilized or can be of significant use by the individuals or in practice. Okay, all right. Now comes to theoretical implications. Now, theoretical implications means uh, impact on the theories that you have chosen in your study, that how your findings of your study, how the results of your study are actually going to create a change, a addition in the variable in the existing theory. Maybe let's say, for example, you have done conducted an analysis on consumer behavior, right? The Eisen theory is very very popular. Let's say you have conducted a theory and you have come across another variable which is not listed in that Eisen model. So with the help of your study, one new variable is added in that theory. So that is theoretical implications, or what kind of addition or what kind of identification of limitation you have done for the existing theory based on your study. All right, so this is theoretical implication, that how the results or the findings of your theory has impacted their theory, the existing theory of your domain. Okay, now how to write implications, now that also is an important thing. Writing implications, basically, this is something which comes out to be as an independent aspect. Now when I say independent aspect, then I mean to say that this is something which is reflecting that aspect of your study, that how your study can be utilized by people at large, by organizations at large, or how your study has added a new perspective or added a new domain in the existing literature, in the existing theory. Okay, now many papers, if you are coming across, you may come across that your you know what do you say, that implications and recommendations of future research are merged. They are not separate subheading, they are together. Okay, so you may come across implication for future research or implication and recommendations for future research. Okay, anything which you can, so depending upon the style or depending upon the structure the author has followed, you may come across. Now when you're talking about implication, it should always begin with the fact or with the finding that what you have found in your study, how your study is different from the previous one, and then those findings which you have found, how they are going to be utilized, how they are going to be useful for the practical purposes like we did in the practical implication, or for the theoretical purposes like we did into the theoretical implications. Okay, so this is the way you write your implications. Now, there are some examples which I have listed down for you for the practical implications. Okay. Now, here, for example, this particular line, if you can focus, the shared language and discourse about cognition among peers, can help student become more aware. So, this is basically, you are talking about that how the findings of your thesis or your paper or your study can be helpful for the people in practice. This particular line, if you see. Okay. Now I'll take you to the example of theoretical implications. Now, if you see the first line only, the previous researchers have identified several differences. Okay, so the instructor in the conversion study describes some metacognitive processes in conjunction with conception and problem solving. So here you're talking about that how the results, now if you see the final two three lines, so how your existing results, how the existing findings of your study is going to contribute, is going to add a variable into the existing theory. So, practical implication, again, I'm telling you, which can impact the practice of individual for the organization. So, the findings which are going to change the due course for an individual or an event or for an organization. Theoretical implication, where the findings of your study is going to create a difference or going to add a variable in the theory. So, that's the difference between practical and theoretical implications. Okay. Okay. Now, let's finish the study or your paper. We are done with the discussion, we are done with the implication, we understood everything. Now, let's finish it. So, here basically, I have given a couple of examples. The example which I have given, you can refer to these paper and you can directly go back to the final section of these paper. And then, when I say complete your paper, that means the conclusion part of it. What to do in conclusion? First is restate of your thesis or your paper. Okay, restate is whatever your paper is aiming at. Then summarize your main points, whatever the main points of your thesis are, summarize them, and then draw to close, draw the conclusion, final statement. Okay, now reminder, now when I say that restate your thesis or paper, that means I'm saying remind your reader what exactly your thesis meant, what exactly your paper wanted to study. Okay, summarize your main point means restate your main point, rephrase, paraphrasing, it's very important at this point in time. Draw to close means final conclusion. So your conclusion basically, firstly, you are saying differently what exactly your paper wanted to say, or it has the main agenda to draw with. Then your findings needs to be restated, your finding needs to be discussed, and then final conclusion. So this here, this study concludes with, or it is to be concluded, something like that it starts with. Okay, now conclusion is your last impressions. Basically, many a times what happen is, when we review the papers, whatever papers we generally state come out to be the conclusion part of it, what exactly want your author wants to study, what exactly your author wants to state. So how beautifully, how differently has author communicated, that depends a lot on how you have written the conclusion. So conclusion is definitely the last impression, and no researcher wants to leave a bad last impression on any reviewer. Okay, all right. So restate your thesis. As I said, I have given the examples for a couple of for one topic. How the students needs to take reading and writing classes, and how they should express themselves. And then So this is your thesis is about, this is the example, and this is how you are restating it. I've given the example, so how paraphrasing can be done. So like Mr. Roshan, this is the way we do the paraphrasing, right? You restate the things. Okay, so here you are restating your thesis, how you are actually communicating the main aspect of your thesis to the audience, keeping the meaning same but in a different manner. Okay, then summarizing your main points. So whatever the body of your conclusion is, it should be like this, body paragraph 1, 2, and 3. It can be not always in the form of a paragraph, it can be in the form of a line also. So what has to be added in that, and then it can be restated like this. So I am not reading one line by line, because when you'll go through these slides, you'll come to know that whenever you are restating your findings, means whatever your findings are, you need to restate that. Now look at the language which I have taken is like, in summary, as stated previously, finally. So focus on the language, and you are mentioning the same things which you are discussing in your thesis or your paper. Is just that how conclusively you are presenting that to your reader. Okay, now draw to close means how impressively you can wrap up your study, how impressively you can conclude your study, how impressively you can let your reader feel good after reading about your study. Okay, all right. Now comes the most important aspect of for any researcher, and probably most what do you say, that a time consuming process for any researcher, that is publication. A lot of public research, and like couple of questions we have also got it here, that how we can get it published, or Scopus Sisters journals. It's actually a worry, because no matter how good your study is, how effective your study is, but if you are not able to get it published at a right journal, there's no point of that good study, right? So, as I said, that I always like some good quotes. So, here what I have chosen for you is publish less but publish better. Okay. So, even if you are publishing two papers in a year, two good quality papers in it, that's good. That's more than enough, right? However, the chosen journals should be effective. Okay. All right. So let's begin. How to select a journal? There was one question also, how to go for a good journal. So basically, what you need to focus on the domain which you have, which you are writing for. Is it engineering? See, I'm a management expert, right? I would not say expert, management educationist would be a rather better word. But somebody would be from engineering, somebody would be from literature, somebody would be from history. So you all know what are the, and today in current times there are n number of journals. There are, I mean, you can't even realize the number of journals they are floating in the market. And as somebody also said, that predator journals or fake journals are so many of them. So it becomes really tedious for a researcher to pick up the right kind of journal. For that tip, I would like to, which I also follows, I also you know go abide by that. Whatever journal I am choosing, or whatever journal I am um, going to get my paper published in, I always check its website. Okay, I always check its indexing. What kind of indexing is in there? What kind of what do you say, that listing of the journal is there? Whatever sources is there, where the particular journal is listed. All that I duly pay attention to. Okay, how long that particular journal is indexed in that, in Scopus or web science or anywhere with it, wherever it claims to be indexed at. So make sure you always check these things. Okay, whether it is a open journal or a peer reviewed journal, or it's not an open journal, like it's a paid journal, and what all are the requisites information about that journal. Make sure that you go ahead and read them. Okay. Second thing comes to be paid or unpaid journal. See, for paid journal is slightly easy to get published in as compared to the unpaid journal. Okay. However, in these days, we can't say that all the paid journals are bad or you should not go ahead with that. I would not suggest it. Why I would not say it? Reason being, otherwise, if you'll only run for the unpaid journal, it becomes very difficult to get the paper published in those unpaid journal. Their scrutiny, their criterias are really difficult. However, but I would appreciate if you guys can always, aim to get your paper published in unpaid journals. Okay. So once you are done with your paper, once you are done with your study, so select your journal. Okay, select your journal, select the index journal, and then what you need to do is focus on the guidelines of that paper. Now here what we have said that journal submission. So journal submission means how to get the paper published in that. Okay, so for that you need to abide by the regulations of the guidelines which are there for the authors. Okay, like the length, what should be the length of the paper. As I was discussing, that depending upon the length of the paper, you keep your discussion and limitation separate or not. So every journal has its own limitations or has its own guidelines for deciding the length of any paper. Okay, then what is the writing style? Like, is there any specific subsection to be included? If there any particular way of style they are trying to say, or other details also, what is the font size, what is the line spacing, what is the borders, everything. See, it may sounds very okay, easy types, that how it is difficult. No, but journals do send your paper back, or do not consider your paper if it does not fulfill the requirements of that journal. If your paper does not fulfill the requirements of the paper, and you are not abiding by the guidelines of that journal. Okay, and the sectioning, many journals they do tell you, like, as I told you, that many papers you have must have seen introduction and background of the study as a separate section. Many studies they take it as a combined section. Depends upon the journal requirements. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Anirudh. Thank you so much. Many journals, many papers you have seen discussion and limitation as separate section. Many papers they are clubbed. Many papers they have implications and future recommendations a separate one. Many have their club. So it all depends at what kind of sectioning requirements are there for from the journal. And you being a author, you have to abide by it. And not only for your paper, not only for your paper, first you send your abstract to them. For the abstract also, what kind of organization should be there of the abstract? Like, I'll tell you, many papers you must have seen, the abstract are of the paragraph style. Okay, there is no sectioning of the paragraph in terms of background, methodology, findings, and conclusion. There, these are the main four section of the abstract. So many journals they want you to write in a paragraph form with 4 to 5 keywords and send it to them. But there are journals as well which requires you to break down your abstract in a methodology. First start with background, methodology, findings, and conclusion, and with 4 to 5 keywords. So these are also the requirements of the journal for you to submit the abstract. Similarly, for the paper also they have their requirements. So my suggestion, or what everybody would say to you, for every researcher, that whenever you are going to shortlist a journal, make sure you visit the website, make sure you check the indexing, make sure you check the how long the indexing which is claiming to be with is there, and plus you read out to the author submission guidelines. Okay, all right. Now, understand how to select a target journal. Now, this is also a very question which is very important and which is asked by very frequently, by the researchers. So basically, when you are targeting a journal, many times what happen is we write according to a journal. Like I have an eye on the journal, let's say for example International Journal of Education, I want to write for that particular journal. Good. So my criteria would be I'm writing according to them. So if I'm fulfilling all those criterias which are being portrayed by that journal, reworking would not be required. Okay, then they do not have very long waiting time for you, turnaround time. Or if you have sent it after 6 8 months, they are telling this much needs to be done, and then again you are sending in and again. So you should focus this thing also, that the target journal does not have a very long turnaround time. They are taking a lot of time, long time. See, generally you have to wait for 2 2.5 months for a good journal to reply back to you. But more than that, there is no point, because if you are waiting for a year or so, or probably 6 or 8 months for the editor to reply back to you, you are running out of time. Okay, you are running out of time. Plus, very important thing is that the kind of paper that journal publishes, okay, you should be make sure that what you are writing and what they are publishing are aligned. Let's say you are writing on psychology and the journal is of finance, it's not a good journal for you. Okay, so always make sure that what you are writing and what they are publishing are on the similar page. And you always publish things that interests you. And the same the journal, you choose the journal based on your interest, so that, because what you are writing, if it's your interest, and what you are aiming to get published in, if they also are publishing in your interest, your work will get smoother. Okay, I'll try to go and reach, if you can see, you know uh, I would like to show you one thing. uh, Probably, if not in this slide, if you can see here, there is a link I have given you as an example. So if you can click it, this link will take you to the link of the particular journal. So there you can see that how the journal is actually taking you to the author's guidelines and all. Let me try it and let me show it for you all, everybody. All right. Okay, yeah. If you can see this screen, so here Journal of Accounting and Economics is there, right? If you can see the screen, so here if you go, so there are guide for authors. Okay, and everything you can find it out, that what all the journal is covering, what all papers they are working upon. And this is this particular, if you click, so what all are the guidelines for the authors you will go for. This is an open access journals. Okay, everything is given. So when you are publishing any paper, any article in a journal, so make sure that you keep a check on all these things when you are considering any paper to be published in any journal. All these things you need to, so you need to go for it. Yes, Mr. Nidu, you should. I think you need to check the impact factor also. But every time you can't go for it. List indexing, good indexing is important. Impact factor, I would say that if your study is really good, if you think that you have done a lot of hard work in that study, then checking a good impact factor definitely plays an important role. Okay, then comes uh, ahead. There are a couple of journals, okay, which you think, or a couple of factors to select a journal which you think you should keep a check on. Whether it's an open access journal, the impact factor of what all are the indexing, where all it is listed indexing, and what is the 5 years impact factor of that journal. These four things, make sure you, like, I think Mr. Nidu, there is a question for, there is an answer of your question, that when you are checking for a good journal. However, for a good study, I would say that please do check all these four factors. Okay, is there a minimum or a maximum impact factor for specific industry? See, for a nursing thing, if you are saying, then definitely there is, you should always aim for a journal which has high impact factor. And for nursing, you may check that what is the ideal or the acceptable good impact factor for a journal which is publishing in the nursing side. Okay. Okay, what about the first author, corresponding author while submitting the ask? See, Miss Shalu, when you're talking about the first author, the ones who is, who has written the paper, corresponding author, corresponding author is the one with whom the journal would like to have an email conversation with, who can be contacted. It can be the first author, it can be the co-author also. Okay, corresponding author is the one who maybe, for example, I have written a paper but I'm not available for a couple of months, I'm traveling or something, so I would like to ask my co-author to become the corresponding author so that she or she can be contacted with the journal. Just in case you are the only author for a paper, so by default you become the corresponding author. Okay. Mr. Mohan, we can say that, unpaid journals, they generally take slight more time, reason being of the quality purpose, because of the quality, because when you are talking about unpaid journals, so their turnaround time is considerably high than the paid one, because of the quality, because they really consider the good quality papers or the study. So yes, you are absolutely right, their turnaround time is slightly higher than the paid version of the journals. Okay, so look for the submission guidelines. Again, I have given this example, so I have shown you. I'll take you again for this particular thing that I think it's important. Okay, so this is, if you can see, if you go back to here, these are the submission guidelines here. Click them, everything you will come across with. Okay, so this is the way you always check for what kind of guidelines the author has, and what kind of things you should make sure to keep a check on when you are considering for your paper to be submitted. Okay, there is one question. Ashish, I've written the article. Can you proofread it and suggest the journals? Yes, Mr. Ashish, you can approach us on research graduate contact details, and rest would be done for you. Okay, don't worry about it. All right. Okay, now when you are talking about a journal's obligation, okay, when you are talking about any paper to be submitted for the journal publication, how to write that paper? Before that, I'll take a question. Ms. Shalu says that while submitting paper, sometimes they ask any message for editor. Yeah, definitely. Any message for editor is that, if you are working on the future recommendation of the paper, or any specific message that please revert back, or you can approach me on different email id, and so anything which you want to wish to say for your author editor, that is personally on the author's discretion. Okay, there is another question, why researchers are fighting about the first and last author was. Okay, actually, see, when you are the first author, that means on the basis of the contribution of in writing for the paper, the first author's contribution is expected to be more than the co-author or the last author. So when you are filling any job information, a job form, or an employability form, so many times they ask you that what are the journal publication papers, in how many papers you are the main author, okay, and how many papers which you are the co-author. So for main author or for the first author, the importance is relatively higher than the other one, but I'm not demeaning that the other author, it's only because of the contribution of the author to write that paper. Okay. Can you suggest some of the international accepted other than Scopus? See, it depends upon. Yes, Sage is also there, Emerald is also there, Mr. Nidhu, and depending upon the field, like in engineering, you may found respective indexing. The journals that are there. Sage has very good journals. Emerald has very good journal. JSTOR has very good journals, and so there are various are there. All right. Apart from that, many a times Scopus, Web of Science, Elsevier, they are the one which are mostly talked about. But Emerald, you have forgot to list it down. Sage, you have forgot to list down. They're also very good journals. Okay. Now, so when you are writing the paper, make sure your paper is feasible, easy to understand, it's interesting, it's ethical. Do not include any information which is not ethical in your paper, which can be questioned about. Okay, which is a wrong information. Do not do that. And relevant as in, if you are writing something which is not of current times, which is not of, if today somebody is talking about liberalization in India, which happened in 1990, it's 2 decades back. Who will be interested in knowing something? Or probably you are, unless and until you are finding something new information, right? So make sure whatever you are writing, whatever you are working upon, make sure it is relevant to the current times. Okay, thank you so much, Talia, thank you so much. Okay, so these things you need to make sure about. And these things also the journals pay attention to. Unless and until your paper is interesting, unless and until this paper is unique, new, ethical, relevant to the current times, nobody will read your paper. There'll be no citations. Okay, if anybody in publisher, as the name suggests, Mr. Ahmed, who is publishing the paper, who is the publishing body of publishing that journal. Okay, like there are Mane publication, there are Taylor and Francis, there are Wiley publications. So these are the publication house who are responsible for publishing the journal. Okay, so coming back to writing your paper, unless and until your paper is relevant enough, unless and until your paper is as per the current flow which is being going on, nobody would be interested. So make sure your paper is as good as it is feasible in the current times. Okay. Okay, so how exactly your standard paper looks like? Your title abstract is there, your introduction is there, methods, results, and discussion. Okay, what to include? Your title and abstract includes these four things: your background, methods, results, and findings. Okay, your introduction includes why was the research needed, the gap, the need of it, the aims and objective. I'm just giving you a glimpse of it. Your method includes your methodology. How did you do that? How your data was collected and how it was analyzed. When it comes to result, what was found, your tables and figures. In discussion, your summarization, your implications, strengths, and limitations. So this is your main structure of your paper. Okay. Okay. Now, once you are done with the what do you call as paper written, paper is written, how you can prepare for submission. Okay. Now, firstly, it's very important to make a point, make it a point that whatever you are writing in terms of your study, whatever you are writing in just of your in terms of your paper publication, make sure lines, it should be double spacing or it should be 1.5, font sizes times Roman 12 or Arial 12, page sizes A4. This is something which is very basic. Okay, let me take some okay, cover letter. I'll be talking about Mr. Chaudhary. I'll be talking about. There are a couple of questions. See, depend upon Mr. George that you know which field you are at, and send accordingly. Management journal which you are talking about, good management journal, base depends upon the impact factor. Okay, and also the the indexing. Okay, the Pearl Education high, see Edge index basically reflects about the citations of that particular article or the particular paper, the number of citations. Okay, Mr. Abel, what are the best publishing journals are there for human resources? I'm doing a PhD in human resources. So there are various. There are many listed in Sage, listed in Scopus. Very, see, better thing is that you go on Scopus. For instance, I'm telling you for example of the Scopus. You go on Scopus, and there you will find the list of the Scopus listed journals, and that list, that PDF, that Excel sheet will tell you what all are the list of listed journals are there, how long they are indexed with the indexed with the Scopus, what all are discontinued from Scopus index, everything is there. Okay. Yes, the Pearl Education, I've answered your question. Depends upon that number of citations. Okay. Shubhankar, I've just passed my ILM qualified JRF. Very good. Congratulations. I've seen an audio writing. Okay. Mr. Paul, that's a very good question. I think you should get in touch with Research Graduate. I think we'll be able to help you for this. Okay. I Miss Aditi. I belong to English department. Again, I told you, citation from Scopus. I told you, go to Scopus and check their website. They have their Excel sheet prepared in which they list all the journals, how long they are indexed, what all domain they are publishing their papers into. You'll get everything from there. Okay, don't worry. Okay. Mr. Nidhu, what are your views about journal index in Google Scholars, EBSCO? See, PubMed is good. Google Scholars, they have couple of journals, they're very nice. EBSCO is very good. Research, see, me, we cannot demean any particular journal index on this public platform. We can't do that. However, depends upon, like in ResearchGate, I have come across couple of papers which the quality wise I did not like it much, so I personally do not go for that. However, Google Scholars is one which I think it's good. EBSCO is good, definitely. Ms. Sharma, how to identify the journal which use is cloned one or not? You have to go on the website and check it about it. Okay. Is the preparation criteria no, Mr. Rana, preparation criteria for all the journals is not same for all the journals. However, they can be similar with each other in couple of points. But before submitting your paper for any particular journal, I will suggest that go for the author guideline submission. Yes, if you get confused with these guidelines, it is quite obvious because they are similar with each other, but all of them are same. I would not say that. Okay. Okay, now coming back to what we were discussing. So, all these three things you need to take care of. Along with this, you need to talk about corresponding author, title page. Corresponding author, I already told you, title page depends upon what should be added on the title page. Every journal has its own, what do you call as, requirements that what is to be there on the title page. Okay. Keywords is very important, very very important. Write keywords, enough number of keywords. Don't give 10, 12 keywords. Ideal number is 5 to 6 or 4 to 6 is ideal number, but do give the keywords helps you to ABCD is they are the kind of journals, Miss Kavya. They're the kind of journals like Scopus, Web of Index they have. Okay. So keywords are very important because they help your paper to get cited by the readers who are looking for people like you. Placement of references, like right kind of references you should put. Like, if you have done some in-text citations and at the end there is no referencing for it, don't do that. Right kind of reference should also always be given. Each section should start with a new page. Okay, so if you are done with introduction, you are talking about literature review, start with a new page. Okay, and these are the common guidelines from the journals. Okay, and then Jen, please follow the journal specification. What all are the requirements of the journals? Please follow them. Don't, because paper before reviewing the paper, no, Mr. Ashish, no, they are not. Okay, they are not. Before reviewing the paper, journal editors, they do go for a check that whether your paper is following all the requirements or not. Okay. Now, before you are submitting, please make sure you have read all the instruction, revise your paper, proofread your paper, do the spelling check, do the grammar check, please check what all are the instructions given to the author. Please, formatting is done, spacing is done, all the terms are completed, If don't do that, if some one subheading is in bold, another is not in bold, some is underlined, another is not, don't do that. It should be a proper flow, similarity should be there, structure should be right. Okay. And timely suggest submission. If the particular journal has said send it till the 15th of this month, make sure you send it by 15th. Okay. Timely submission is very there. What are the things to remember? See, now here one thing is, do not submit an article to more than one journal at a time. Okay. If you are submitting a paper for a journal, because many a times what happen is it what is double, basically when your paper is being sent, once the review is done, Mr. Rana, and then the paper is sent to again for a double review. Okay, somebody else has also been reviewing. Okay, coming back to things to remember. If you are submitting one article to one journal and you say that okay fine, there is no reward coming back, let me send it to another journal, and you never know both the journal accept it. Okay. So there is advisable is to avoid sending it to more than one journal at one point in time. Okay. If an article is rejected, why it is rejected, why it is not been accepted, is there any mismatch, anything which I can do to make it accepted, all these things. Okay. So if your paper is sent to the editor, what does they read? First thing, the cover letter. Like Mr. Mukesh Umesh said, that let's talk about cover letter, let's talk about the cover letter. So what do you write in a cover letter? Okay. So you, when you send the cover letter to your editor, you mention your manuscript title, your author name. Okay. And then what are the main findings of that article, and then so on. Okay. This is one example of the cover letter. Another example is this. Okay. Similarly, again, few things are common in every cover letter, that is your title of the paper, your findings of the paper, and what are the significance of the paper, and what is the paper which is aiming at. Okay. These are the examples of the cover letter which you send to the editor before you, or along with your paper which you submit. Okay. Now, accepted for publication, very nice, bingo moment. But what if not? Then revise. Revision. How to revise? There are basically three phases. One is major revision. Some major revisions are there. There are some minor revision, like some grammatical errors, some spelling checks. That's it. Another is accepted. Okay. Now here, when it is for major revision, then authors generally get little upset, right? Now, what you can, check, redistribute the content means something rephrasing. You can have a better clean abstract. Sometimes they do tell what to do, what to improve. Okay. If they do not, then you can keep a check on all these, that you have proper gaps analyzed, you have supported introduction, means you have properly reviewed it, you have given proper citations, your results are better. Like for example, one review I have seen for a paper for somebody is that your the methodology needs to be strengthened. That was the comment. So methodology needs to be strengthened means that methodology needs to be probably rewritten or probably written in a better manner. So that sort of comments you get. Okay. Then if you have the comments that you have something wrong assumptions in your paper, like I said that anything needs not to be assumed in the paper, everything has to be backed up. Okay. Just do not repetitive comment should not be mentioned in the manuscript. One thing which is very common for the paper to get rejected, it when your findings does not match with what your aims are. Thank you, Mr. Arul. Whatever your aim was in your study, with which you started your study, is not matching with the findings of your, then you are in a trouble. That what kind of, because then the editor would definitely send your paper back, that what your aims are, they are not matching with what you want to or what you have find out. Okay. All right, so there are some couple of examples of reviewer comments, and They many a times they give a detailed review comments. For example, like, abstract, there is a separate comment. Introduction, there is a separate comment. For methodology, results, there are separate comments. So this is the examples of the reviewer to the comments to the author. Okay, another example is this. Okay, so maybe the reviewer can give you a detailed review comments, and maybe at times they can just go ahead with that. Conference, Ms. Shanti, conference proceeding in indexes, SOPUS or and web of Sciences, they are good. They're considered to be good. Okay. Okay. Now, there are another couple of example. Here, what I have wanted to show is that once you receive any review or comment, now the question comes how to revert it back. Now, for example, the first reviewer has said, I did not find this study to make a valuable contribution to the literature. Okay. Now, the author responses should be as follows, like, while we appreciate the reviewer's feedback, we respectfully disagree. Now, here, many times the author said that how to say that what I have written is the right one. Now, you can't simply say that, no, I don't accept reviewers' comment. So, you need to disagree with them gracefully. Okay, so for that, I have given you a couple of examples that how you can make sure that you disagree and point out the importance of your finding in a very graceful manner. Okay, all right, all right. Now, while you respond, so if the comment is genuine, inappropriate, additional work is asked, you need to contradict. So if the comment is genuine, you make the change. If the comment is inappropriate, you disagree politely, gracefully. If additional work is required, obviously you need to do it. If the work can be done, if not, then you have to justify why extra work is not possible. And if you are completely contradicting to the reviewer content, then you say what you have done. Stick to that. What you have done is absolutely right, but gracefully. Okay. Can I publish same content with slight modification in another journal with citation? See, when you say that slight modifications, that slight modification needs to be either in some sort of data collection or some additional variables are added. However, the title of the study needs to be changed. Okay, you can't have the same title for two studies published in either in if you want to publish in the same journal, but the title needs to be different. Okay, and the content as well, because otherwise, when they'll check the plagiarism before publishing a paper, your own paper will show the high plagiarism. Okay. Okay, so there are some examples that there are some queries which are being given by the reviewer and how you can respond to them. Okay, because many times it becomes very difficult for give them a right kind of response and how to handle the responses. It becomes very difficult. Now, so just for your curiosity, that how actually peer review process work, like somebody asked me. Okay, when you send the paper, it goes for the reviewer assignment, then it goes to review, then proofreading happens, then acceptance happen and publication happens. So here basically from here to here 2 to 12 weeks can be taken. Okay, review this here, it can go to one reviewer, it can go to two reviewer. In blind reviewer means you do not know what where your paper is. Okay, all right, so that was all from our side. And your participation certificate, your recording will be emailed to you by the end of the day. All right, so that's all from my side, and now we are open for the questions. And it was a very nice interactive audience. It was nice to get in touch with all of you. What percentages? Ah, yes, Mr. Nidhu, depends upon the journal to journal that what is the percentage of the plagiarism they are accepting. Otherwise, generally, what you say that 3 to 5, more not more than 5% is what is to be said that is ideal one to be accepted as. Okay, but again, it depends upon the journal to journal what how much plagiarism is. But being a research scholar, I always say that go for as minimum plagiarism etiquette as you can. So thank you so much, Mr. Shaheen. Thank you so much. So as you know, as less plagiarism you can come up with, that always preferable. That's always good. Yes, the recordings, the certificates, and the PPTs. All of you will get the recordings. All of you will get the PPTs. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Thank you so much, Aditi. Thank you so much. Thank you so very much. I appreciate that the kind of audiences you are, very interactive one. Otherwise, at times it becomes a one-way journey for the speaker to talk long, for good 1.5, 2 hours. But it's nice to see all the scholars here, and it's always a learning experience for people like us also who get to learn from you all who are pursuing their research journey. Yes, Mr. Shaheen, for the further contacts, you can get in touch because in the slides we have given you the email ID, we have given you the a WhatsApp number, or you can get in touch with us on with Research Graduate. Thank you so much, Mr. Vijay. Thank you so much, Xavier. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Rana, I have a question. Sometimes I've seen the reviewers can be suggested by authors. Is it true? Not for every journal. Not for every journal. When it is blind review, no, not for every journal. Maybe you are talking about from your PhD thesis, any paper review. In that case, maybe yes. Okay, thank you so much. Yes, there is. Can we stop a paper from publishing after getting accepted but not registered by paying? Yes, yes. Unless and until you will not see your conference is basically they take payment for any conference. They take payment before their conference actually starts. For any conference, they keep you in unless and until you give them full paper. They will not be able to publish you conference. They always not ask you for the full paper. Okay, what type of figures you recommend for journal, and do you have software codes for ranking them with mean comparison? See, Subarna, basically it depends upon the field and the domain of the interest of your interest, that you can compare with the different journals. Okay, for management is different, for engineering it is different, for literature it is different. Can you how many conferences attendees? See, attending the number of conferences, if you are a student you can go for as many, like not as many, if you say for participation, if you are a good paper, if you are writing a good paper, then you can attend 2 to 3 in a year. If you are presenting any paper and you have something concrete to present in that paper as an audience, you can attend as many as you want. Thank you so much, Mr. Abel. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much, Amal. Thank you so much. In fact, I'm also lucky to have all of you to be interacted with me. Thank you so much. Yes, yes, Naira. We conducted a webinar in the past wherein we had softwares wherein we can check the plagiarism by ourselves. Umesh, we don't say them free target journal, we say them open access journal, and there is a directory for open access journal wherein you can see and locate a good open access journal for yourself. Okay, thank you so much, Talia. Thank you so much. Uh, Writing grants, winning proposal, definitely we'll take into consideration. If any topics which you would like to get, like plagiarism if you want to attend on, proofreading if you want to attend on, please make sure your comment to be left in the email ID given to you, and we'll work on that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, fine. The PhD proposal, right, it will definitely see all of your suggestions. If you have any for the for the future webinars, please drop in out. Okay, there are a couple of software, Shalu. There are in that speaker introduction that author has owned 6 copyright and 8 patent. What does it mean, please? See, Ms. Kalpana, actually, when you work on a, let's say, you have done any project or you have done any study wherein you have found out any results which have not been worked upon by anybody else, so then you file for a patent. That means anybody else cannot work on, or anybody else cannot use that in those results or that identified product or a process by own their name. So they file for a patent. And copyright also, if you can't use it in your own name, you have to use that author's name. So that is that. Okay, I have a paper done in 2019. Yes, Dalia, you can publish it. However, make that paper more appropriate to the current times. Okay, make it more relevant to the current times. It's not like that, because in 2009 till today, there's a lot of happening. If I remember, you are from nursing, right? So in healthcare domain, there is a lot which is happening because of COVID. So make sure that your paper has relevant information as per today. Then you can go for it publication. Don't Nobody can stop you from that. Please go for it. I would say that. Okay, how many conferences are enough for a PhD as presenting papers? That depends upon your supervisor, how many they want you to present. How, in my opinion, 2 to 3 is okay, fine. After presenting a paper at IIM, I realized that this was not indexed, had only an ISBN number. Could I send it to? Yes, you can. You sure? You can. Shubhankar, the first step to start writing a paper is to find out a good topic. Okay, the good topic. I got one paper. Yes, see, if your paper is get accepted, unless and until you give them an approval, or you send them the full paper to publish, nobody can publish your paper. Thank you so much, Mr. Mohan. Thank you so much. Oh, you were expecting this session to be longer. I think one day we will conduct a session only on question and answers. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Mr. Nirup, research graduate thus provides you services for your proofreading and editing, and it goes without saying that if we provide the services, thus they are chargeable. But you can get in touch with our team, so they will be able to help you better, and they will guide you for the entire process. Okay. All right. Okay. So there are a couple of comments which are not appearing. Mm, for presentation in the conference, you may consider for it. Yes, yes, you may consider. Yes, they does charge. Okay. Okay, so it was lovely interacting with you, lovely having a lovely conversation. If anybody wants to get in touch with the research graduate, they definitely can get in touch with us, and we'll be happy to help you for any doubts, or any work which you are stuck with, any statistical analysis which you are stuck with. Your review is not getting done, your paper is not getting completed, so all of you are more than welcome to get in touch with Research Graduate. Leave in your comments and leave in your queries for whatever doubts you have, whatever services you want. Thank you so much. Thank you for so much, everybody, for being a nice and interactive session. Thank you so much. Yes, I told you. I told you. Yes, you may. You may. You may. However, I would suggest that couple of changes. If you can modify the paper, modify the abstract, you can modify the abstract, you can, so that you may go ahead with, you may go ahead with any other questions anybody's having. uh, See, Aditi, if you are looking for something for in your own domain, like English literature, so you go for the finding it for the good. Let's say you're looking for Scopus listed or any other listing indexing in your field, in your literature field. You have to find out for that, and it's not like that. Indian Citation Index, you will not get it, but you on internet you have the full list available for your every domain of listing of the journals. You have the full information available on that. Any other queries you can. Thank you so much, Talia. Thank you so much. Thank you. But however, I would suggest to every researcher who is either in a process of finding a good journal or writing a paper, start looking for a good journal. Start looking. Every information is available. Start looking for a good journal. And the way I have told you, that go and check their website and go and check their authenticity. Find out what kind of paper they are publishing, how long they are publishing. Please make a sure of check on that, and you will be finding out a good journal. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much. And we wish to see you on the coming webinars also, which we keep on organizing. And we will try to incorporate all your suggestions which you suggested, the webinars which we can attend on proofreading, on plagiarism. What you said, we will be doing it. We will be doing it in future. Thank you so much for a very patient. Thank you so much for a patient audience. Thank you so much, everyone. See, when you talk about, basically original research paper or impact factor, basically when you go for, you mainly you go for a research paper. When you talk about short communication, exactly if you can elaborate what exactly when you are meaning for you meant by this thing. What is the word limit of a research title? Average length is 16 words, Mr. Nidhu. Average length is 16. Yes. So impact factor, when you say, Mr. Rana, it's about the number of citation primarily in the last 2 year and the last 2 3 years. So number of people they have cited. So as many people they have cited the short communication, what you said, or as many people they have cited for the research paper, as you said. So it's about that. How many people? So these days authors they do look for or high number of citations for their paper. That contributes to the high impact factor. How many people are citing that particular journal? That contributes to the high impact factor. For you, Mr. Nidhu, average length is 16. Yeah, and don't go for any word limit which is less than 8 or 9. Don't go for that. I think we have conducted a webinar in which wherein we discussed how to formulate a title and how to decide a topic. I did talk about that. What is the average length of the research title? Okay. All right. So thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. Some journal publish short paper called short. Yes. See, short paper basically when you have a limited literature discussed, when you have so basically when in management something like short communication is not that that popular or is not that widely available. However, in other domains, it does. After submitting paper to pay journal and after if the journal rejects, do they change charge for reviewing the paper? No, they do not. It's only a one time. Yeah, it's only one time. Okay, fine, Miss Amal. We will take into consideration of conducting a webinar on review articles. And in fact, we did conducted a paper on writing a research or a review paper article. We did. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll get in touch with our team and we'll decide that if all your suggestions can be accommodated in future webinars, it'll be great. And I would love to see all of you in the future webinars as well. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much for patience, listeners. Thank you. Yes, we will be conducting this thing on review paper. We have conducted in this thing, but we will be definitely we will conduct this thing on the review paper. Mr. Nidhu, galley proof basically, Mr. Nidhu, it's a noun. It's an American English noun. It's used in proofreading. Okay, so when it is a preliminary version of proofreading, which is going to be published an article or a book. So it's a preliminary version of proofreading. Okay. Dr. Roy, for life sciences research, you'll have to see. There are various domains, there are various fields wherein there are a lot of journals. So, based on the indexing, based on the impact factor, then only you can choose which is the best journal. Okay. Definitely, Mr. Rana. We'll organize. We keep organizing actually these webinars, and we'll make sure that we keep on continue with the same. All right. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody, for that attending the webinar and being a very interactive audience. And we appreciate if we can have your attendance in the next webinars also. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.